Hey, what's up everybody? Long time no vlog. I am currently at the Overwatch launch celebration, or to be more precise, I am currently in a car in the parking lot next to where the launch celebration is happening for Overwatch. And so with that introduction said, it is now story time. So my friend Justin and I were playing the open beta for Overwatch, which was about a week or 2 weeks ago. If you were on YouTube a lot during that time, you might have noticed that I was streaming the game of it, me playing of it with him a couple of times. If not, that's cool, man. You're still a hardcore fan of mine. And so yeah, we played the beta, and he's a pretty hardcore fan of the game by now. Me, not so much, just because I'm not too much of a fan of FPS games, but Overwatch is just kind of different because it has a kind of gender bender status to it between MOBAs and FPSs, and it has a pretty cool cast of characters and lore and whatnot. And so yeah, that happens. We played the open beta together, which was really fun, but they end the open beta, and there's a week or two until the actual official release of the game, which is happening tomorrow, probably already by the time this video gets published. But yeah, but that 1 to 2 week wait until the game actually releases is too much for my friend, and he basically goes into withdrawal. He can't play the game anymore, so what he does is tells me how much he wants to play the game, sarcastically asks me if the game is out yet, like 20,000 times. Then he watches a bunch of the cinematic trailers like 50 times over, and he reads up on the lore and all that stuff. Then his craziness, his madness online eventually leads to him finding out that Blizzard, the company, is hosting a bunch of launch parties, or not parties, but celebrations for the game, which is coming out again tomorrow. So these events are happening today, which is the day before it comes out. And so yeah, he shares that with me online on Steam, and he says on Steam, I'm gonna buy them. And by them, he's referring to the tickets for the event, because you have to pre-purchase them online, then you go to the event and show him the code to get into the event. And so yeah, that happens. He says that, and I'm assuming that he's inviting me to the event, and he's just saying that he's gonna buy them for us, and he's kind of forcing me to go just because he's so excited about the game. And so yeah, I decided to go with him because he seems to be excited for it, and in general, we don't hang out in person that much, so we've kind of been disconnected as really good friends. And yeah, and so the story continues. It just so happens that the venue for the event, which is just a movie theater, it so happens to be right next to our favorite sushi restaurant. And so this plaza area where the sushi restaurant is and where this Overwatch event is going to happen, we usually go there on somewhat of a special occasion because it's a half-hour drive away. And so kind of in line with this tradition of doing so, I decide to kind of make this event a kind of bigger event, just because it's a rare opportunity for us to go out with each other. And so I invite a third friend who just so happens to be coming back to town over the weekend to come with us to go eat at the restaurant and watch some movies at the actual movie theater where the event is happening. Then me and Justin, or Justin and I, can go to the Overwatch event with just the two of us, because that third person in our party isn't too much a fan of games, basically. And so yeah, with that, plans are formed. We're gonna watch 2 movies, we're gonna go to eat sushi at a fancy restaurant, and then we're gonna go to the Overwatch premiere celebration. Damn, that sounds like a nice ass day, doesn't it? So yeah, 2 movies, Captain America Civil War, The Nice Guys, then sushi at a restaurant during dinner time, 5 to 7-ish, then the Overwatch premiere celebration at 9 p.m. All scheduled for today, not today because this video is going to be published later, but all scheduled for today, May 22nd. Except it doesn't happen that way. So a number of issues arise during the time that we start this planning of this thing until the actual time that it's supposed to happen. Issue number 1 is that the restaurant that we go to for sushi, our favorite sushi place, is too fancy for people like us. So what we usually do is we go on Mondays, when it's half off on all their special sushi rolls during the dinner time. Either that, or if we're feeling really fancy out of our place, we go on Sundays during the dinner again, because they have an all-you-can-eat special, and that usually amounts to like $35 per person. The restaurant also has half off on other sushi rolls on Saturdays during the lunch period, which ends at 2:30, but we've never actually gone at that time ourselves. And so yeah, that's going to be issue number 1. We're going on a Sunday, which is between Saturday and Monday, the 2 dates where they happen to have 50% off their sushi rolls, which would save us like $60 or more. We're going on Sunday, so basically we have this vacillation of actually going to the restaurant if it's worth it, if we have to do the all-you-can-eat, which is going to be $35 per person, so we're kind of swayed into almost not going. Issue number 2 comes into light light when the online site for the movie theater finally updates the showtimes that they have for that date, so I can check them. And it just so happens that the showtimes don't really work if you want to watch both Civil War and Captain America, because both movies are at least 2 hours long. The Nice Guys is 2 hours long just about, and Civil War is 2.5 hours long. You factor in the commercials that they show beforehand, and that's like another 15 minutes or so for each of them. And it just doesn't work out. You can't really fit that into half a day because the restaurant, it has its own variables. There's obviously going to be the wait time until you're seated. That can take up to a really long time. Then also, since we're eating sushi and you're kind of ordering rolls over and over and over, there's the variable of how long it takes to get your food to the table, especially if you're eating all you can eat. Then after that, you have to wait for the next dish and the next dish, and that just might pile up to be a really long time. And so it turns out that we can't really fit a movie into the period between dinner and the Overwatch premiere, because dinner is basically 5 to 7 and the Overwatch premiere starts at 9. That only leaves a 2-hour block, and that's just too short. Not to mention that neither Nice Guys or Civil War starts one of their showtimes right at 7 and ends at 9 for us to conveniently fit in there. So we can't fit a movie in there, so we can only watch a movie before dinner basically, and that's going to be our first compromise. We're going to have to drop one of the movies and watch a movie before we go to dinner, then go to dinner, then go to Overwatch, which also means that we're going to have 2 hours after dinner until Overwatch to do nothing basically. We just have to wait until the event starts because we can't fit a movie in there. And of course, with this in mind, we're still facing the predicament of whether we even want to shell out $35 per person to do the all-you-can-eat in the first place, because we're already spending a movie on a money ticket. Money ticket? Holy crap, I wish those existed. We're already spending money on a movie ticket as well as the tickets for the Overwatch per event. And now enter issue number 3. Justin neglected to tell me that he had work on both Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. And 4 p.m. is just way too late, because if dinner starts at 5, we can't watch a movie before dinner, because there's no movie that is an hour long basically. And so yeah, at this point we're up our shitter with issues. Fate just doesn't want to align to give us this cool event, jam-packed day of events. And so what we basically have to do is we have to split up the event into 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, because there's just too much to do and the times just won't allow it. However, the detail that I mentioned earlier, half off on their sushi rolls on Saturday, but it's only during lunchtime, which we've never been to, so we didn't know that until our planning phase basically, and lunchtime ends at 2:30. And again, issue number 3 is still present. Justin has work until 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. So we can't go to Kayenyama on Saturday, and we're probably not going to be willing to go to Kayenyama on Sunday, where we would have to pay $35 per person. And so it looks like Kayenyama, along with our second movie, is going to be wiped out of our to-do list. And so that's exactly what happens. We go to the movies on Saturday to watch one movie, The Nice Guys, and then after that we go to dinner at a different place. We just eat at a local Sizzler. And that was fun. The Nice Guys is a very good movie. I definitely recommend it. It's the best movie I've seen of the year so far, albeit I haven't watched that many movies this year so far, but of all the movies out in the theaters right now, I definitely say The Nice Guys is the best choice to watch. Sizzler was also good and enjoyable, a good time out with 2 friends, and even better, tomorrow we're gonna go to the Overwatch launch celebration, which is what we originally made the plans for. So our original plans are still going pretty damn good, except they're not. Enter issue number 4, which we find out about on Saturday night when we're at Sizzler. What we basically do is when we order, I paid for the whole party of us, the 3 of us, because they would just pay me back in cash at the table, so we didn't have to do the confusing shit in front of the register person. So yeah, I paid for all of them. Then we get to the table and Justin asks, how much do I owe you for the burger that I ordered? Then I say, oh, it's cool. Since you bought me the ticket, we're pretty much even because they're both around $10. Then what comes out of his mouth is the thing that we've been waiting for. He says, wait, what? And so as it turns out, when Justin and I were talking on the very first day that started this whole chain of events, when we were talking on Steam and he was talking about the event, and when he said, I'm gonna buy them, he was in fact referring to the event and the tickets, but he meant that he was just gonna buy one for himself. And so thus ensues a friendly argument between us two about who was right in thinking that whatever he said, I'm gonna buy him, and he obviously meant that he was gonna buy one for himself and that I should buy one for myself too, and we should go. But when I read it, I interpreted it as he was gonna buy two of them because he was so excited for the event that there was no choice in us not going, and so he was basically forcing me to go with him as his friend. And so I was like, oh yeah, okay, fine, I'll go with you. Go ahead and buy the tickets, basically. But that wasn't the case, apparently. But yeah, that was on our Steam conversation, which we'll never be able to go back to and refer to see who was actually right, because Steam doesn't fucking record your chat logs for some reason. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. So yeah, after multiple incidences of compromising our grand schemes, we took out the first movie, we took out the great sushi restaurant, all on the faith that it was still, the grand plan was still in order. The things that we revolved all those events around, the launch celebration, was still intact, and we could enjoy that and enjoy the event for its core main dish, basically. Then in the end, it turns out that we can't, because only one of us is going to be able to go. And so at this point in time, you might be stepping out of your occupation as witness to this retelling and taking an interactive stance and saying, hey, well, if you already found out about that last night at Sizzler, then what the hell are you doing in a car right now in a parking lot in the middle of the night by yourself waiting for somebody for 2 hours? Yeah, if you already knew all that. And so that is where the moral or the theme or the motif of this story comes into play, and that is one of being a good friend. So basically, the moment we found out that we only had one ticket for the event was right after we ordered at Sizzler, and that, as you might be able to imagine, created a tonal shift in our happy-go-lucky day. Basically, we were about to indulge in some food with the thought that tomorrow's plans were ruined, but of course, because we had our third friend there who wasn't involved in the next day's events, I wanted to keep it fun for that day. Then I was just kind of brushing off the topic, and then we could just think of something to do about it after. And so yeah, even though there was that kind of tonal shift in the atmosphere, we were just like, oh well, shit, that happened. Let's just figure something to do about it after dinner or tomorrow before the event, because we wanted to enjoy that dinner for the fun that it was for that day. And so we have our dinner last night, and we enjoy the company of our third friend. We finish dinner, then we all go home, basically. After that, there's that period of downtime where you're obviously not in their presence anymore, so there is kind of a tiny atmosphere of tenseness or awkwardness in which one of us should contact the other and say, well, what should we do about this? And yeah, we talked to each other later that night after dinner online, but it's mostly about irrelevant stuff, just because there's irrelevant stuff to talk about that, and we still don't know what the other wants to do about the current predicament. It's not until the day after, which is today, Sunday, that I get a text from Justin after work, after he finishes his shift at work, and he says, well, what do you want to do about this, and blah blah blah. Alright, so here we have the text message conversation that happened about 20 hours after we went to Sizzler and we all went home. So it starts off like this. He gets off his work shift and he says, hey, so what do you want to do? It starts at 9 if you want to sneak in or something. And I say to that, I'll come along if you want me to. And already from the start of this conversation, you can kind of catch on to this kind of atmosphere or tone of apathy between us two. We're kind of discouraged just because of the futility of the current situation. But now we scroll down a bit more, and what does he say back? He says, I don't know, it doesn't seem worth it if you might not get in. And so this is the message here that kind of reeks so much of apathy that it like gets on my nerves, basically, and I just won't accept it given how good friends we are. So I get a little serious in response to this, but not before telling a joke to kind of lighten up the atmosphere. So what I say back to that is, you just want the swag to yourself because they're giving away swag at the event. Then he responds, dude, you can have the swag unless it's a keyboard. I'm keeping that shit, which is in reference to an in-person conversation that we had the day before, where he basically said the same thing. But yeah, so the next message from me is going to be the serious one, which was already being typed out right after I sent this one and before he sent this, and it goes as follows. Well, you decide if the 1% chance or whatever of them selling more tickets at the door, or me being able to sneak in and being able to share how much this experience means to you with someone else. Nay, the coolest person you've ever met is worth the risk. And so, yeah, that's what I say, which is pretty damn serious. But yeah, that's just the response to that apathy, which I hate right here. I don't know, it doesn't seem worth it if you might not get in. The event doesn't mean that much to me, but I think it means a lot to him because he just loves Overwatch so much. So this is fair if it came from me, but from him, I won't accept it. So I say this and let him. I force him into being my friend and force him into depending on me to go share an experience with them because that's how he really wants. Because if that's how he really feels, if he really loves, if he's really anticipating this event so much that it would be way better if a friend was there, then he needs to say it if he wants it to happen. And so yeah, this is my counter right here, my super ultra counter attack. Sure kill right here, and sure enough. Look at that shit. Alright, I'll be at your house at 8:30-ish with a fucking exclamation mark. Look at that fucking enthusiasm. That fucking 180 turn from this apathetic fucking piece of shit right here. Get owned, motherfucker. I don't know if it seems worth. Fuck you. Exclamation mark. Alright, I'll be at your house at 8:30-ish. Then continues a few minutes later on. Hey, let me in. Hold up. Yeah, that shit right there. That's how friends talk right there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so yeah, that's where basically the romanticist side of me kicked in and made it, or was aware that this was a pretty unfortunate scenario, not ultimately really bad or anything. It was unfortunate, but it was also an opportunity to showcase how good friends we are, basically. It was a good way to convey that friends are there to do things for other friends, even if it's troublesome for themselves. And so yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But before you bow down and get on your knees and start worshiping me as the god of friendship, or whatever, there is a disclaimer. So basically, the whole time of today's events, when I first got the text from him and I was responding with that whole overloaded text, I was already consciously thinking about how much this wouldn't really affect my own activities for the night. Right now, you can't see it on the camera, but right next to me, I have a bunch of things that I prepared to kill time with in this car for 2 hours. I brought my laptop and my phone and other stuff. So really sitting here in this car in this parking lot for 2 hours isn't really different from what I'd be doing if I was at home right now. And so with that in mind already from the start, I made that statement. And so yeah, that overall makes the story a little less idealistic and romantic, but it's definitely, it has to be mentioned because there has to be a bunch of negative points taken away from my status as a good friend. But it's okay. I think overall I'm still managing to keep up a pretty good score. So yeah, now if you'll excuse me, I have an episode of Game of Thrones to watch and my hand is getting, or my arm is getting really tired from holding the camera like this. So until next time, which I don't know will be when, but yeah, hopefully there will be more vlogs to come at a way faster rate than they have been.